I like to be here a little early to make sure we got everything going on. Hi, anybody there? Just kidding. Natalie Tommy is going to be joining me in 2 minutes. We are going to be chatting about our third chapter in life. It's very, very exciting. I'll just hang on until everybody comes in, and I'll maybe invite Natalie in now so we can be here. Let's get her in. Here she comes. The technology, it's so wonderful, 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 wonderful. Now, Natalie, are you here? Look at you. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so good. I'm so grateful that you're here today to
Oh.
share with us the adventure you're having in your life in your third chapter, Nat. And, I just want to say I'm so grateful that we met and that we have had an opportunity to really collaborate on creating some really cool stuff for people in their third chapter too. So want to make sure to get that in.
Well, thank you. You've honestly changed my life so dramatically. Just even the way that I think from day to day now, just from being around you. So I'm grateful that we have met too.
It's a treat. It's a treat and a half. There's no question about it. So I think we'll get started and people can just come in as they do or watch us on the replay, as they say, when it's posted up on my page. No pressure. And by the way, if you have questions or comments you want to make as we're going along, I'll do my best to try to read some of those and answer them as we go too. But welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're joining me, it's Natalie Tommy from Nautical Lands Group. She's the VP of Marketing for Nautical Lands Group. And that includes the Wellings, which is the company that Nat and I collaborate together for. And the Wellings really it's such a cool idea. Maybe I'll just ask you to describe the work that you're doing with Nautical Lands and with the Wellings.
Wellings is a really exciting chapter in Nautical Lands Group's book of retirement living. It's really aimed at 55 plus people who don't need care, and they're really looking for a place to transition between a home, let's say, and a traditional retirement home. And it offers so much and so many different models of living. And one of the things that we love is you can really see if you start having conversations with people early about what their goals are for the future and where they are now, we can really help them meet the goals that they're really after. And it's just, it's amazing how much energy comes forward when people in retirement are all living together.
Yeah, no kidding.
Exciting spot.
Well, and all the experience, all the wisdom in one building, like, come on. It's crazy. It's crazy good. And the one thing that I loved when I first met the head honcho, Kurt, years ago. Kurt said, that he watched his mother get older and he wanted to create something where it would be different for her. And I just thought that was the sweetest intention to start this company with, because really the Wellings is created around social connection. And that's the very thing. I know my mom lived in an apartment alone and really didn't have a gathering place where she could be with other people. And that's one thing the Wellings, I think, just does a superb job on.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, my mom's there. It's quite interesting that my mom and Kirk's mom live side by side. And they have a lot of fun together, share the odd scotch and the odd story about the kids. So we're always on
pretty cool.
display, apparently.
Yeah.
But no, it's really a good spot. It's a fun spot to be in. There's so many member-led community club things going on there. So it's not all driven by us. So the independence part of it is huge. And the social part of it, of course, it plays a huge role.
Well, I've met some pretty remarkable folks among the members at Wellings, pretty impressive people all around. Hey, so let's have a chat about the third chapter for you. Sure. And the way I'm describing the third chapter, and researchers are saying now we have to extend this concept of midlife. Used to be that it was in your 50s kind of thing and into your maybe early 60s, but then you were into the old age portion of life. But that's just no longer relevant, just like the concept of retirement. We need to have a new way to focus on these things. And I know that you're very vibrant and active and full on in your life. I think it's so exciting. And I call third chapter 55 plus and up to wherever you aren't here anymore. Yep. So if we're talking about your third chapter, where are you in that, would you say?
Well, I mean, I would say I'm in my last career. Let's hope so. Being in my 60s. And what a fantastic spot to land in. I mean, the work that you have to do to be able to relate to people that are either going into retirement or fully retired or in their 80s and 90s, but still don't need any care. I mean, you have to bring a totally different person to that conversation. And so for me, having gone from a very busy retail career into this one, I mean, I'm sitting here and if I don't do the work internally about empathy and judgment, it's really hard to do my job. If I don't have a friend circle around me, which I'm very blessed that you are part of, with people that are wise and have a lot of life experience and are well educated in that field, and to be able to bring that to my life, I can't do my job. So for me, the joy of the fact that I'm curious about life and I still love learning new things and I still like being engaged with people. I think that chapter has allowed me to look inside and just become more self-aware, more empathetic, less judgmental. So I feel like I'm in a better place now.
Yeah.
It moves myself forward.
Backing up just for a second, your previous career was fast-paced retail, sporting goods. Yeah. Your dad started Tommy LaFave in Ottawa, as an iconic retail outlet. And you spent many, many years working with your dad, mm-hmm. and then with your husband, and now with your husband again. And just the pace has shifted, but it hasn't really changed.
No, but you know what has is that I never thought I would say it, but I actually enjoy working from home because I realize, like, as some people say, you're not really part of it and you're not as productive, but for me, I'm way more productive. And because my job itself has a lot of creativity involved in it, I have the opportunity to be able to develop that a little bit more because I don't have any external distractions. The pace is obviously it's way different than retail. It's at least as fast, but it's not every single moment isn't a 911 and get it done and there's customers on the floor not being looked after. So I feel that pace that I had and that ability to problem solve quickly and efficiently has followed me into this role, but I only pull it out when I really need to. So that calmness about me inside is definitely better than it was.
Yeah. Well, that's a brilliant gift of this chapter. Let's talk about the challenges that you're encountering in your third chapter to start with. Then we're going to talk about some of the tools you use to navigate. And finally, we'll talk about some of the gifts and lessons you're learning. So what are some of the challenges, would you say?
Well, I would say one of the biggest challenges is managing my energy properly. And I say that because I'm surrounded by people that are drivers, and I can't say that I'm not as well, but we all want to get stuff done. And our team is a small team. For the size of business that we're fairly small. And so we all have to do things efficiently and quickly. And I find sometimes, your energy levels don't match the expectation or the speed at which you're being asked for the information. And particularly when you're using other or you're actually involving people outside your business itself, right? Like I'm getting assets from marketing people, content, obviously you're always 3 months ahead. So I'm not saying anything about that. But, when you're relying on other people and the way that they work to get your stuff done, I find that sometimes is a challenge.
Yeah.
And also maintaining, because my goals now as I get older, I want to have a life that's not just about working and my family. I want to make sure that I'm filling up my soul and really having a sense of what my goals are for the future. And if I say I want to live this authentic life, it's being able to take the steps And if I'm presented with an option of one or the other, like having enough, then the challenges for me is not falling back into my old ways.
Right.
That's a big challenge, right? It's I'm only been living this way for the last 5 years, and I'm in my 60s. So, yeah, definitely it's easy to fall back. But if I look at, where I want to get to, I'm hopeful that I've got enough people around me to support me and to guide me if need be. And you're one of them, to say, no, Nat, think about where you want to go and choose the path that will get you there the best way possible, or the most efficient way, or the way that lights up your soul the way you want it to. And I mean, I'm blessed in this.
Yeah. One of the things we talk about often, knowing our core values, that guides my life entirely. I know when to say yes and no based on the values I have.
Yeah.
And I think you're finding the same thing, that it's very helpful to do that exercise.
Well, I did that I think I started doing it right before COVID, and I really didn't think about what my core values were. I remember BJ Bueno, who I work with too sometimes, and I said to him, he said, well, Nat, you've got to do your work on the core values, like for our leadership training. And I was like, oh, well, that's easy. And he says, no, you start with the words, and I want you to drill it down to 4 words that are guiding words and principles for you. And I'm like, 4? Well, I didn't even have a clue, so I Googled up core values, words for core values. I started with 100. Then I got down to 50, then I got down to about 25, and in the end, I think I had about 8. And then I finally got down to, well, family is my number 1. And I realized in times in my life where I really feel off kilter, it's when something in my family isn't going well, and or if somebody else brings their family stuff into me and I think I can solve it, like I've felt like I had to take it on and get it done. And so doing the work for your core values, I think, is absolutely critical, particularly as you go down the path and you actually have more time to reflect and surround yourself with people that have got more life in them, or more age behind them to guide you with some wisdom.
Yeah. And also recognizing that in our 3rd chapter, we have less time ahead of us than we do behind. So we better use our time the way we really want to. And, as a recovering people pleaser, I can say doing the exercise on knowing my core values, educate, elevate, celebrate, collaborate, and now be curious, that's really served me, because now I know I have to say no to things that just aren't aligned anymore. That's got to, if I'm going to use my time, as you say, the way I want to and shape the life I want to live, we have to be true to what we've decided are the core values. It's a good point.
And do you find too that once you've done it, you're almost allergic to the stuff that doesn't pull you in towards where you want to go? I just find that, like, when somebody is judgmental, sitting in judgment of other people and their decisions and everything, it almost irritates me. Like it makes me a bit uncomfortable, because I want to say, hey, there's no value to this conversation. Like, let's move on. But you still have to be polite and empathetic from where they're coming.
Yeah.
And I find that's a tough one.
And we'll come back to that in our next section when we talk about tools, because I think that's a really important piece, is to have empathy for other people and not expect them to be where you are. Yeah. We were talking about this idea of health span versus lifespan, and that plays perfectly into what we just discussed, because it's more about the quality of your life than the number of years you live, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and with my work from Wellings, I mean, I'm surrounded by this every day, and people will say, I can't walk up the stairs, or I need my walker to go across the street, or I can't get in and out of the car anymore. And we will say to them, well, is that a goal for you? Like, what are your goals? And they say, well, I want to pick up my grandkids. And we say, okay, if that's your goal, let's stick that up on the wall here, and let's look at what you're doing now to make sure that you get to reach those goals. And most people, particularly in the ages that we talk to all the time, they don't come from era where you sit down and you self-analyze where you want to go and what the gap is and how you're going to get there. Like, they didn't come from this era, right? But if we say, hey, just join our fitness class every week, you do a little resistance training or 5-pound weights every day, I'll bet you'll be able to pick up your granddaughter. And sure enough, they start. Next thing you know, they're walking up and down the stairs or down the aisle. And it's not, obviously, you know, I'm not living in utopia. It's not every single person. But the ones that actually have the goals and follow what's needed just to live a more healthy lifestyle generally get there. Like, we do see transformations before our eyes.
And they're so inspiring. It's always so inspiring for me, because, you know, I think that's me in another 10 years. That's me in another 12 years. So it's very exciting to see how people can take on their third chapter and recognize this. And I believe it's true. Well, it is for me anyway, can be the best chapter of your life.
Well, I think so too, because you have the time to devote to it as well. Like, by the time we talk about our age, like 55 plus and over, or 60s and over in that age, I mean, most of us, our kids are gone. We're not so concerned about them. We miss them. We wish them well. We support them in every way that we can. We support our friends. But we also are at that age in our lives where we can self-reflect, not beat ourselves up, hopefully, and just say, hey, this is where it is. I'm good with who I am. And starting with that sentence of, hey, I feel good. I'm good with where I am.
Yeah.
And being accepting of yourself just makes you healthier and happier person in general. And when I think about happiness, I think about when I first met you and you talked about sustainable happiness, and I had no clue what that was. And how much it's helped me understand it.
Yeah. And the concept that we're responsible for it. You know, this is the thing. We were conned when we were growing up into thinking that somebody else would make us happy. Something, some situation would make us happy, and we'd just be happy. But that's not how it works. We have to work at it every single day if we want to have a good life for ourselves. And it's up to us what we choose, how we choose to think, where we put our attention, to your point about, you know, judgmental people and stuff like that. So let's talk about some of the tools that we're using, because this is part of it. It's managing our time. It's knowing who we want to spend time with and what resonates with us. I tell you, I feel now when I'm around gossip, I have that same reaction. I feel like, no, I can't entertain this conversation. I'm just allergic to it now because I don't know if it's true. So why would I pursue something that could be detrimental to somebody else when really we have no base in fact? Let's just talk about something that, you know, is going to light us up or is at least constructive.
Yeah, and you know what? Old habits die hard, right? Like, as females, I mean, we kind of seem to be doing that since we were 10 years old, or probably so. But if it's a conscious choice, and we say we don't want to be part of the gossip, or we don't answer, then it can't perpetuate. The conversation doesn't keep on. But I mean, that's one of the tools for me, is just go into a conversation thinking to yourself, you don't have to plan a conversation, but really thinking about how it might roll out, what is involved in this person's life. Is this a day, or is this a time frame where I feel that I can have a visit with this person? And I remember you saying to me after I had to have a tough conversation one day, you said, well, Nat, do you ever think about, after a tough conversation, setting yourself up for something light and fun after that? No, of course I didn't. It wasn't how I was wired. Like, you just put your head down, you go to the next one, whatever. And you just constantly bring in that energy that it doesn't serve you well anymore. So one of the tools for me is just be prepared and thinking about how those relationships might roll out, or those visits with people or conversations with people. And, you know, my other tool for me would be to, as you always say, edit your friends list, or place some pretty stringent boundaries around myself about surrounding myself with people that not just light me up, but also help me get to where I want to go. You know, I remember my brother when I was young. You know, I said to him, "Oh, I was on the cross country team or something," you know, and he was the athlete, you know, from as long as I can remember. He lifted weights. He wanted to go to Atlas and buy all his weights when he was about 12, and he had to wait to get his driver's license. And he was training for something all the time, right? And I said I wanted to do that, and he said, "No problem. You want to run cross country? Come on, I'll train you." And my brother was one of the only person in my life that could actually motivate me to do anything physical activity wise. And I remember it because I remember as my kids were growing up and playing football and doing all those kinds of things, I remember thinking he never put any pressure on me to do the training. He just led by example. And, you know, I think that's some of the tools is I look around, I may not have time to do all the research of all the masters that actually you have led me to and BJ's led me to, but I like the way that you live your life. I know that if I follow your lead in some respects, that I will reap the benefits and rewards from that. So tools for me are having people around me that can get me closer to where I want to be inside. And,
Yeah.
and fill me up.
You said, you know, being around people who light you up. I love that. People who can just hold space for us and not have to tell us how to live. Not have to tell, like, don't tell me how to live.
Yeah.
I love mentors. A lot of my mentors are in books. A lot of them aren't alive anymore, but I'm mentored by them because their energy is so powerful when it comes to just keeping it up,
Yeah.
keep the vibes up. Let's be positive. Let's do what we can.
Like we're trying. Like
we're doing our best.
It works all the time. But if our goal is to continue to strive to be, you know, a better person, then a better person for ourselves to live with. I mean, I think about over the years how many arguments I ended up having or disagreements because I was trying to bend somebody to understand the way I did it because it worked for me. It should work for them. So they follow me, right? And then I get sort of resentful that I spent time and they didn't do it. Where I look back now, honestly, even 5 years later and say, let them be. It's okay. No, it's okay. Everybody's got a life to live. It just let them do their thing.
It brings you a lot of peace.
Yeah, it does. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of my goals for me is just to have a sense of like calm and inner peace about me. So that yes, I'm going to feel things, but hopefully they don't upset me enough that I can't carry on with my day.
Yeah. Another tool that you have in your toolbox is your beautiful dog, Tinky.
Yeah, Tinky. I mean,
Tinky gets you out.
We walk a lot. She's a sweetheart with us anyways. And, you know, she absolutely is. I mean, I've got an amazing husband and yes, he's a, you know, a driver like crazy. But when the chips are down and I really need him to help me with something or to guide me in some way because I'm upset about something, he's there 100%. I mean, the family support, my, you know, brothers, sisters, all this. I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of really close people that are very supportive and helpful in this way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a tool. Some of the reading that I do is a tool for sure. As I sit here, I was thinking about it, like that book Outlive by Peter Attia is his name. Yeah. I also have that Glucose Revolution one because I'm type 2 diabetic and I know how important nutrition is moving forward. Heart health is moving forward. Brene Brown's Gifts of Imperfection is almost like a small resource book for me where I go back every now and then and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember this now. Is it Arthur C. Brooks' book, the one that did work with Oprah? Yeah. I read that too is sort of close by at all times.
Yeah.
I think the one that got me started, honestly, was your book on happiness. Oh. Your very first book that you did.
Okay, cool.
I think that kind of got me going. I was still shocked that I got to meet you and that, you know, we agreed to have a visit all those years back, it seems now, but yeah, we're still fortunate.
But you know, I believe in that kind of kismet stuff that, you know, when you're ready, it's there. It's always there. we're so wired for this idea that we have to control stuff with who we are as human beings. And there's a much bigger picture going on in my understanding of things. And there's a lot of magic in the world that, you know, we're a part of. And we're kind of letting more magic in now, I think, and allowing ideas to sort of flow to us and things to flow to us, as opposed to having to, you know, go out there and hammer on the nail all the time. You know, there are so many wonderful ways to view this third chapter. And I just want to say how grateful I am that you're so open-minded to some of the kooky concepts that I bring to you, but we do manage to make them relevant. And I think it helps people to see, oh, look who's here. Jedson Tommy's on the call.
Oh,
hey, Jed.
Yes. Oh, hi, Jed.
We were talking about you. It is exciting. It's such an exciting chapter in life. Really, Jed, you're quite right. It's an exciting chapter. And, you know, we're all works in progress. Nat and I, we say this all the time. We're all beautiful works in progress. We're all gloriously flawed. Nobody has it all together. We're all trying to figure it out. So it makes it, you know, just a little bit less pressure filled when we recognize that, you know, we're kind of all in this together. It's okay. We're going to get there.
Don't you find too, one more thing I was just thinking about, how fantastic it is, like the group that I work with, the majority of them are women, like at our general manager level, or, you know, some of my leasing people. And I love when I have a conversation with them and I see a light go off and they go, yeah, you know what, you're right. And I think, oh, you know, I feel so good that I was able to impart just a life experience to them that, you know, even as tough as days can be sometimes, the light comes on in the morning and you're still going to move forward.
Yep.
And it's so great to see, right?
It's so great to see, and how we choose to move forward, because too many people carry all of their resentments and anger and frustrations with them in a suitcase, and it's heavy, and it's time to put the suitcase down and free yourself from all that stuff and enjoy sharing your wisdom, because, you know, as we age, we pick up a lot of lessons, hopefully, from life.
Yeah.
And that's our job now, is to share that with people in a loving, respectful way, of course, you know, but I think, you know, we are the wisdom keepers at this stage of life, and it's really quite an honor. So moving into talking about the lessons and gifts, getting back to that idea of empathy that you mentioned. And, you know, when you're in a fast-paced retail environment, you've got to be judgmental about a lot of things, right? You've got to boom, 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 boom. Am I right?
Yeah, but it's also, yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, as a buyer, so I might have looked at 10,000 coats to buy 1,000, or 100,000 coats to buy 1,000. I mean, there's a lot of yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, you know, no snow, yes, snow, you know, that sort of, but in the end, I think, you know, the difference from where I am versus where I want to be, that part in the middle, is just getting better. Just, you know, I'm really working hard not to bother with the judgmental stuff, and, you know, think back to my crazy days in retail.
Yeah.
It was a fun chapter,
Yeah.
but it's up on the wall now, or a fun book, but that's it.
Yeah, no, and that's a beautiful way to look at it too. It's one chapter in our life. You know, I mean, people still recognize me from when I worked at CTV, and they make comments about Joel and I and the show we did together. And I love that. It was so special to them as it was to us too. But I'm in a new chapter of my life now. This is even more exciting.
And you know what I find is, like I learned, I was one person at Tommy and Lefebvre, but that person didn't light me up. It was a job that I did, and I loved it. And, you know, I know that when people came in, I was selling fun for a living. And that was great. That aspect of it was incredible. But I know for me that was not going to sustain what I wanted to be for my life and how I wanted to feel about my life. Moving forward was going to be working in an environment like that.
Yeah.
So by fluke, I ended up at Nautical Lands Group thinking, how the heck am I going to be able to do this? Like, I know nothing about the retirement industry in any way, shape, or form. Like, whether it's adult active living to retirement home, traditional retirement homes. Like I didn't know anything about it. It's a whole new language. But one of the first things that I realized was that that pace and that energy that I had in retail could not survive, and I couldn't thrive in my current role if I brought that with me. So, you know, sometimes the experts say something has to die for something else to be born and thrive.
Yeah.
That's what died. Like it had. So
that's a gift.
You know, that's a gift. 100%. That's a gift. That I've always been. I've always had the ability to be introspective, like to look at the self and see where I shine. I don't talk about it a lot. I'm humble in that way, let's say, but I know what I need to do. It's just inside me. I know I have the tools I need. I feel my mom gave me the tools I need to thrive. I just have to find them.
Yeah.
So remember them somewhere.
Yeah, no, they're there. But sometimes, you know, you said it before, we can easily fall into old habits. And these, you know, sustainable happiness habits are things we practice every day. Every day we learn to surrender the stories that aren't true about ourselves. Every day we learn to forgive. Every day we practice, practice, practice. And before long, it becomes kind of an ingrained way to be. When we're grateful all the time, I mean, you've noticed more in your life to be grateful for. That's just how it works. And these energies expand. And when they're the basis of your life, well, your life just gets even more beautiful in that way, because you're allergic to complaining and you're allergic to judgment. You'd rather be compassionate and kind because that feels good. Why wouldn't you want to feel good, right?
And the kindness part of it. I mean, who doesn't notice when, like, you could go to a grocery store, park the car, walk in, do your groceries, go through the cash, and never say hello, never smile, never anything to anybody, right? But if you take the time to get your groceries and go to the cash and say, "Oh, good morning, how are you?" The person like can hardly believe somebody said good morning, and that just carries forward, right? You know, you felt good about that, and then it's, well, you're going to do it to the next person, and you know that person's passing it on. So it's just nice.
Yes.
Like I see that at the Wellings every day, right? Those people that are sort of, maybe they don't want to hang out in community every day, but they are absolutely kind souls. And I would say the Wellings staff here in Ottawa, I mean, they are the benchmark for Wellings of the country. They're
the epitome. So yeah, they're the epitome. Leslie Ann Barrett's on the call. She called us a couple of spicy babes.
Like
God love you, Leslie Ann.
From one herself.
Yeah, so, no kidding. No kidding. Hey, so this idea of empathy then, just to kind of wrap up here, Lovely, because, you know, I don't want to keep you all day. I know you've got more fish to fry. But let's wrap up talking about that and how, you know, that's really shifted some outcomes for you.
Yeah, you mean what's coming?
No, in terms of the empathy piece that you.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think what's happened is, because I'm on a mission to be more empathetic and less judgmental, I find that I'm able to not take everybody's problems on for myself. That I really can put myself in a place of what's happening in your life, hold space for them, just to have a conversation with me without trying to solve everything. Just, wow, I'm so sorry that you're feeling this way. Is there anything I can do for you? And mostly it's not. Mostly it's somebody just wants to know they have somebody they can trust on the other side to have a conversation with. I've also had no problems at all saying, I'd love to help you with this, but honestly, I'm not qualified to do it.
Love that.
Sometimes you become a therapist, you're not qualified. Like, I could be putting my foot in something or making it worse and have no idea. And I feel like having the ability to know, like people like Marion Bala or other people like that, to be able to say, this person is amazing at just looking at, you know, they can help you with the steps if you really want to do it. But I'm happy to listen. I'm happy to lend an ear if need be.
Yeah, hold space. Jed had a couple of questions in there around this idea of kind of reinventing yourself. You know, new identity from being in retail to where you are now. And he mentioned that you and I sure made that step of that transition, that reinvention look easy. But Jed, let's not be fooled. Let's not joke around, because you entered a whole new, as you said earlier, you entered a whole new arena, a whole new career that you didn't know the language for, you didn't really understand the issues. And so what was that like? Because I know for me, I'm 12 years into my business, and it's been a very challenging experience. I'm way more confident now, but when I started out, I had no idea what I was doing. But you got to keep going.
Well, I had no idea what it was going to look like. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it scared the hell out of me. I mean, to go from retail marketing into changing people's lives and being responsible for the quality of life within our communities. I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's huge. Yeah, it scared me to death, but it was baby steps, because when I first got started, we only had a couple of communities. By the end of this year, we'll have 18 shovels in the ground and close to 2,000 people or doors. So it's totally different. But it has taken me. I'm there 10 years. Yeah. I mean, who knew?
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like about 4.
Yeah.
But it also fills all of the things that I was looking for that I didn't even realize I was looking for. Number one, great conversation every day with people of my own age, and with sage advisors and sage people that are in their 70s and 80s. That's fantastic. The ability to use my creativity as a buyer, so on the design team. So as I am interpreting conversations and giving it a language of design, and having the opportunity to use that skill set, made me realize, wow, I have way more here to offer than I even realized. So yeah, I had to learn a new language. However, the principles of marketing and the way that people are wired don't change. Yes, we added in social media components in there that are brand new, but the way people are wired has not changed. Yeah. So those skill sets transferred over with no problem. And on the design team, obviously, I mean, I've always been a color theorist. I've studied colors. I've studied psychology of the brain with regards to interpretation of signs, of language, of music, all of this, that just rolls right over. So the transition has not been easy, but because it's full of things I love, I never mind doing the extra learning. I'm not trying to get into something I don't like.
Yes, exactly. Or isn't aligned or resonant with you and your gifts. And also now you're uncovering more gifts, which I think is the most exciting piece in this third chapter, because many people, when they get to 55 and up, they think maybe they're done, but you're not done. There's purpose at every age and every stage of life. Look, we're going to have to wrap up, Natalie. We'd be here all day because, both of us are a little shy. Have a hard time talking to each other. But I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing with us today, and for, inspiring us, really, because people can learn so much from your story. And I just really appreciate you and your time today.
Well, my pleasure, Kathie, and cheers to many more years.
Cheers to many more. Okay. Bye for now, Nat.
Bye-bye.